Hello and welcome back to another Average Racing Gamer video. Today we're going to be doing a daily race B at Trial Mountain. This consists of Group 3 cars and 4 laps with no pit stop. We're going to jump straight into qualifying with our 650S GT3 car in the McLaren Marlboro livery. And as you can see on the right there, this is my 11th lap of qualifying time trial. So I'm carrying good speed through the opening fast chicane. Hit the brakes just as you go into the tunnel down to second. Hug the inside line. Get on the power as soon as you're confident you can miss the wall. Same through here through the tunnel. Just as you go in the tunnel, hit the brakes down to second. So you can actually get on the power much earlier for the long back straight. Braking point is the signpost just on the right here. Down to second, on the power as early as possible. Flat through this first corner. Hit the brakes just as we get to the apex of the second. Hold it as tight as we can to the apex. On the power nice and early. Just before we get to the level, on the brakes down to second. And on the brakes again, just here. Down to 50 in first. About the same in the second half of the chicane. And on the power to the line to complete the lap. Very happy with that lap of 53.7. At this point I'm thinking that's pretty competitive. So let's go to the grid for our first daily race then. And as you can see, we're in 9th place and actually quite a long way off the fastest time. So my optimism at the lap time was a little bit misplaced. We might have to come back later and see if we can set a faster one. But for now, let's get into the first race. So here we go then, off we go, flat out to the first corner. Already we're being put under a little bit of pressure from the Porsche behind. Maybe that's already showing a weakness of this car. But I carry too much speed, I don't take into consideration cold tyres. And we go wide into the barrier and damage most of the car. That puts us plumb last by some considerable distance as well. See if we can finish this race without making any more mistakes and see if we can pick up any positions from skirmishes up in front. See, there's already a yellow flag ahead of us. Because of the damage, I'm struggling to get round the corner. But we find the pink BWT liveried Porsche ahead of us. So let's see if we can have a bit of a race with him so it's not a complete waste of time. So as you can see again, before the slipstream takes effect, he is fast in a straight line. Has a free position on the left and another Porsche. And we do make ultimately quite an easy move up the inside. So I think any more positions from here, we'll be hoping for mistakes from those in front. We're not going to gain 20 seconds, that is, in 3 laps. Looking at the map, there was a bit of a skirmish out of the last corner, but not enough to bring us back into play. So we'll hurry this first race up because not a lot more happens. We are starting to catch a car in front, but we didn't really get close to him. So at the end of that race, we finished 11th, where we started in 9th, but after the first lap, that's not a bad recovery. But we'll go again in the second race and hopefully learn from the mistake and not throw it off the road into the first corner once again. So we are for the grid for race 2, and we're starting P8 this time. There's a good mix of cars in these races. They're not all one make, one model. There's Nissans, Audis, Ferraris, McLaren that we're in, Porsches, a good variety. So here we go then from the start. And the same thing we had at the last race. We fall from the car in front, drop into the clutch of the car behind. But this time we make it cleanly through the first corner, and now we can get on with the rest of the race without too much difficulty hopefully. We had a quick look up the inside, but the Ferrari braked much later than us, used another car as a bit of a brake, spun in front of us, pushed us into the barrier, and caused us to lose 3-4 positions, which was unfortunate. We could have, if we had a bit more luck and squeezed through, we would have been in the top 4. But never mind, we'll carry on. Everyone is still quite bunched up, so we could make some good progress here. So into the hairpin at the end of the long back straight. You can see the Audi on the right hand side there. Doesn't give us any room, doesn't appreciate there is anyone on his inside, and just drove across us, put us into the wall. Fortunately no damage on that occasion. Up the inside of this BMW for 10th. But on the exit he gets a better drive and pulls back into 10th place. Taking it a little bit easier into the chicane, looking for the gaps to open up. Unfortunately the Audi in front of us cut across us, and the, I want to say is that the McLaren F1 from behind us just knocked us in the rear. We went sideways slightly and lost momentum at the last corner. So that's 2 instances that are out of our control in that lap, so, or maybe even 3, so we'll regroup, go again. And the BMW there just running a little bit wide as we take the position. And from somewhere, we've got a 1 second penalty. It says collision with another car, but I didn't feel a collision with the car. So unless it was that BMW that was already going off, I don't know. But I think that's a bit on the harsh side, that one. But anyway, we'll carry on. We'll keep fighting. Might get have a good race out of this. We're in a pack of 4 here. You can see the weakness of our car once again in the straight line. They're all pulling away from us until the slipstreaming takes effect a bit further down the road. Bit of contact up in front. I brake at my normal point. The Audi in front brakes way too early, and we get an additional 2 second penalty. There was nothing I could do about that. He wasn't in front of me when I hit the brakes, but he was by the time I got there. So there's not a whole lot I can do about that. If someone just appears in front of me when I brake when I normally brake, that's just, in a way, that's just buying a penalty for your opponent, isn't it? I don't think he did it on purpose. I think you could see he was having a scuffle with the other cars. But to give me a penalty for that, I think is ultimately ridiculous. But anyway, so we'll serve our 3 second penalty. Back down to 9th. Back down to 10th. Are we going to lose 11th as well? Yes, we do. BMW in front of us loses it. I try and go wide to avoid him. Another car's in front of me trying to avoid him as well. Goes off the road, spins in front of me, and I get a 4 second penalty this time. I will argue all 3 of those were not deserved. I think the game is just a bit dim-witted in this sense, that it can't differentiate between collisions made on purpose and collisions that happen just because of a scuffle that's happened in front of you. A couple of weeks ago I had a guy that absolutely smashed me out the backside and forced me off the road, and I lost 3rd and ended up finishing 6th or 7th, and he didn't get a penalty. And he did that on purpose as well. So that's my Nürburgring short daily race, if you want to see that, from a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, we'll just fast forward through this last lap. BMW in front of us does have a half second penalty for a corner cut. So as long as we stay within about a second, we should be able to get him before we cross the line. And that will be P11 again for this second race. So probably one of my more frustrating and annoying races I've had. I don't think those penalties were deserved, and they ruined any possible chance of a half decent result. Plus the driving was a bit chaotic in that one. So what I thought we'd do here is go back to the qualifying time trial and see if I could improve my lap time, and so start further up the grid and hopefully get myself out of the melee that is the middle of the pack. So right at the end of qualifying for the 3rd race, as you can see, I've not got a whole lot of time left to complete this lap, but there will be enough. You can see I've already improved by 4/10 my previous best, so that should be a couple of positions on the grid. Let's see if I can improve any further on this final lap. You can see I'm a 10th down after the first third of the lap. Let's see if we can find any time right at the end. So about on par with our previous best, but this is where we start making up some time. So I brake a little bit earlier than I did before into that corner, but managed to carry better speed because I was hugging the inside line. Similar to that corner, you can see I'm 4/10 up now. Into the final chicane. Very easy to overdo and overdrive this final chicane, but you take it steady, you get the nose into the apex and you get on the power as early as you can, and you can see that this is going to be a big improvement on our previous best, which should hopefully see us starting much further up. The 52.8, much better lap time, over a second faster than what we had previously done for the first two races. Now that says fourth on there, but it does move up to third when the time gets updated. So let's go to our final daily race at Trial Mountain. And you can see P3. So hopefully that'll mean we're out of the melee of midfield pack, and maybe we can fight for the win in this one. So here we go from the start. Try and tuck into the slipstream of the car in front. We're also keeping an eye behind us. Again, being careful not to overdo it in that first corner with the cold tyres. And just making sure we get through this first section towards the back straight. Then we can really get into this race. A little bit tentative through that first right-hander, but carried good speed through the second one. On the power nice and early for this back straight, and it does look like we've got a bit of an air gap to the cars behind, so we can focus forward. But given the straight line performance of this car, it has switched. So we'll have to try and regain some time in the corners. We haven't caught on the cars in front, and that little touch on the wall is not going to help. But we have gapped the cars behind a little bit more. And as we get to the end of this first lap, we find ourselves in pretty much the middle of nowhere, where we're not really in a position to fight the cars in front, and we're under no threat from the cars behind. But given the state of the first two races, I'll take a boring race to the podium. Which essentially is what this race turned out to be. The first two in front swapped positions on that lap, but we were in no position to get anywhere near them, to be honest. And that's it. A very straightforward and boring 4-lap race to third place to end today's video of the Trail Mountain daily races. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for the Trial Mountain daily races. Come back later in the week when hopefully I'll have some Japanese races at Suzuka. Other than that, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again for another video in a not too distant future. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
テーション